Okay, let's see here. I almost forgot about my live stream tonight. I was so busy spending the day with my wife, having a good time, that it was probably around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I go, oh, I've got to set up for, for this. Oh yeah, hopefully your internet's fine. Population growth, I'm sure it is. If you drop out, that's no big deal. There's always the VOD or the replay later on to catch what's going on. Let's see here. Also got TikTok going on, so if anyone shows up on TikTok, hopefully they'll come on over to YouTube to watch it easier over there. And let me turn down the music a little bit here so we can get into exposing these D&D monsters. And I have a special surprise for the viewers. So let's see here. I need to get this down to about 22, where it was before. I don't know if you can still hear the music or not, but hopefully it comes through. I'd like to keep it kind of low so that way when I do the recaps later on in the week, they won't be nearly as troublesome or loud, so that way I can do some better editing. And I'm also having a cocktail tonight. All right, let's switch over to the live scene and get into this. So, as we can see here in the top of my schedule for next week, I have all that scheduled out. So anyone watching this replay will see that I have the Longstrider, Lizardfolk Champion, Rock Tulkesh, the Horsemen of Baba Yaga, or Baba Yaga's Horsemen as they're actually known, the Body Taker Plant, Titivilus, Titivilus, that's how you pronounce it right, Titivilus, and Bulazau. So those are the ones coming up for shorts next week. Hey, Clawpaw, you made it. I wasn't sure if you saw the notes or whatnot. Fantastic. And let's see here. So those are the shorts coming out next week, if anyone was curious. I also have this new section down here in the bottom left of videos that are getting a version 2. And then there's the other ones. These were ones we took a look at last week. Or some other people. No, actually, we only looked at Solar last week, but I have a couple new requests here, plus some other requests from the previous weeks. And let's see here. Population Growth asked if I had looked at the Zaratan. I have looked at the Zaratan, actually. It's an older video. Let me go to the studio and let's see here. Zaratan. Oh no, I haven't looked. You know what? I'm getting the Zaratan confused with that big giant turtle from Explorer's Guide to Wildmount, or whatever that one's called. All right. So let's see here. Zaratan. Oh yeah, that's the giant earth turtle thing. My buddy had that in his major campaign. No, we can totally look at that. Population growth. That'd be an excellent suggestion. So let me see here. What book is the Zaratan in? Mordenkainen's 201. Okay, cool. Let me pull that up in just a moment. Actually, yeah. Let me get back to that. So, for anyone that has seen some of my posts through this week, the community posts, there was one in particular that gave a little bit of a sneak peek. And that sneak peek is this up here. Now, if you're looking at the tab, it says Monster CR Calculations version 2.0. I spent some time reworking the tool a little bit, and I had this vision of some extras of stuff that I wanted to add in and move around, and I now have this. This is version 2 of the Monster Calculation tool with a bunch of new fields. One of the fields was down here with the cumulative bonuses. So now I can see the total bonuses that are coming from all different areas. Plus it actually gives a spot for the saves, flying ranged, and all that other stuff that was kind of sitting off on its own. So on top of that, now we have a spot for all the monster stats plus the modifiers. And there's a note here about Constitution. Constitution obviously is the most important one out of all of them. You don't need any of the other modifiers or the monster stats, just Constitution. That's going to be the most important. I also added in a note here for expected CRs because I had noticed with the free version of this that people weren't using the expected CR in a couple times, so I wanted to make sure people knew that expected CR is an important spot for the defensive section. And Kloppa says, "Yoo-hoo, that was it. Looking cool, Andrew." Thank you. Yes, I'm really happy with how this came out, and it fits so much better. Everything is pretty much above the fold, and the fold would be this down here. I mean, I could shrink the screen if I wanted to, but I'm not going to bother with that because I don't want to make it any harder for people to read. So now everything is pretty much on screen. I don't really need to shift much for anything except for maybe a little bit down here, which there's not much I can do about that. So the workspace will need to be scrolled down, but I don't have to really worry about anything else on the side here except for maybe the monster stats, because the book will cover that over, unfortunately. But we also have, on top of that, monster attacks. So there's 6 spots for those, which is nice. So you can do, the number of dice, and then you can pick out the type of die you're rolling here, especially if you need a d20, who knows. And then you can have modifiers. So if you want to throw in a spell attack here, you could do that. And you can just use the dash so that there's no additional items on here. Otherwise, you could add in strength, dex, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, or charisma into the attack, and you'll get the average output now. Because especially after seeing some of these homebrews where people weren't adding in the half die, I thought it was important that people see that. And then you can easily copy, all you have to do is really just hit equals and then click on the cell, hit enter, and then you'll get, the dice moved, or not the dice, but the average damage moved over to there. So I really love how this looks, and I hope you all enjoy the look of the new version too. And some other things, like I said, got moved around and adjusted. So the offensive area lost some things were moved. So instead of defensive area having constitution, wisdom, and charisma, that's been pushed over into the monster stats. And then vulnerabilities, resistances, and saving throws got moved into defensive and out of the offensive section, which didn't really make sense having them there. Thank you, population growth. And then down here, this is a new area that was recommended kind of by someone else that was looking at my tool. And these bonuses were initially attached to the side of the offensive. I've moved those out of the way. And then let me also turn this on. Forgot about that. So these used to be to the right of the offensive section in the dashed lines. They're now here, and anytime you click on, flies and does the damage here, it shows up like it used to. On top of that, anytime that you, let's see here, anytime you click on something like this, you start to see a total cumulative bonuses. So for instance, right now, our monster has +2 effective AC. But if you also add in, let's say, constrict for an additional +1, now we're seeing that the monster is getting +3 overall effective bonuses and bumps and whatnot. So I really like this area, so it shows me exactly how much is being added in, especially for, let's say, legendary resistances. And we'll say, all right, 3 uses. Now our monster has an additional 30 hit points on top of their base, which is up here in the defensive section. And then the reset tool, I had to adjust that, and everything works like it's supposed to. So now we can look at the Zaratan using version 2.0, which means the old tool, which is still out there and is the free version that people can use from the link on any of my videos, goes to the other version, and that is officially version 1.0. I feel very confident that there aren't any bugs from all the combinations here, and it's time to finally move that into version 1, and now I have version 2 here. And of course, any updates will be in the updates tab, like you can see here. 2 days ago, or a couple days ago, I had made a whole bunch of adjustments for version 2 and added in and adjusted some other things as well. So let's pull up the Zaratan from Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes and get going with this. Books. All right, Mordenkainen's. There we go. Let's see here. Population growth. I feel so special that I'm the first for 2.0. Yes, you are. You and Clawpaw are both first to see the new tool and get to check it out tonight. So tonight is the grand unveiling of version 2.0. All right, and that was page 201, I believe. Yes, so we'll go 202. And we have the Zaratan. All right, let me... there we go, perfect. All right, and yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so unfortunately, because of the size of my monitor, I'll still have to shuffle over a little bit, but, you know, at least we don't have to spend all that time over here because sometimes the monsters don't have a whole lot of traits. So, for the time being, we will just go in and start looking at the Zaratan here. Okay. So, we have a Gargantuan Elemental, the Zaratan. And the Gargantuan monster gets D20s for hit dice. And let's see here. It is... Alright. AC-wise, we'll go with 21 AC. 15 of those D20s. And then for its stats, we have 30 strength, 10 dex, 30 constitution, 2 intelligence, 21 wisdom, and 18 charisma. Not a smart elemental. And then from there, we have all of the base information out of the way, so we can now move into the skills area. And we see that we have 2 saving throws, so we don't have to worry about modifying that. We do have damage vulnerabilities to thunder, but because there's only 1 vulnerability, we will skip over that. Hey, Chosen One, thanks for joining up. As I had told Clawpaw and Population Growth, you are looking at version 2 of my tool. I finally was confident enough to say that the original tool was version 1, and I got some images of how I wanted to modify and change some things around. So this is now version 2 that everyone gets to check out. At least if you're on the live stream. And then if you watch the replays, you'll get to see them then too. Let's see here. So, back into the skills area, there is damage vulnerabilities, but there's only 1 condition for thunder, so we will skip over that and look at the resistances. And we'll see that we have cold, fire, lightning, and then the standard melee versions. But because it's a CR22, which I will add in now, we can put it in, but we're not going to get any bonuses from the damage resistance. So let's go ahead and throw that in. And when we come down here, we'll see that damage resistances and immunities will only give 1 times the hit points. So there's really no point in putting in damage resistances or trying to calculate that once your monster is over CR16. Chosen One, let's see here. Oh, sick. Do you share the tool for CRs? I do. The version 1 is, there's a link to version 1 in all of my videos, in the descriptions and the top pinned comment as well. So you can use version 1 anytime you'd like. And I always go in, I usually go in once a day to check to see if anyone's used it and reset the tool so that it's fresh for anyone that uses it as well. Back to the skills area, we also have damage immunities to poison, but because it's only 1 condition, we will skip over that as well. And then we move down into the monster traits, which means I'll need to shift over here for the time being. So we have earth-shaking movement. And let's see if that does anything. As a bonus action, after moving at least 10 feet on the ground, the Zaratan can send a shockwave through the ground. That area becomes difficult terrain, yada yada. And let's see here. On a DC con save, throw or creature's concentration is broken, so that's a great way to stop casters from concentrating. The shockwave deals 100 thunder damage to all structures in contact with the ground. If a creature is near a structure that collapses, the creature might be buried. The creature within half the distance of the structure's height must make a dex save. On a failed save, the creature takes 17 bludgeoning damage, is knocked prone, and is trapped in the rubble. A trapped creature is restrained, requiring a successful strength check to escape, and so on. So we could, in theory, add in this earth-shaking movement here. Let's go ahead and throw this in and see what happens for this, and if it's something we really need to worry about or not. So let's see here. 2 of these. We could say... Where would I want to put that in? Let's put it in heated body for the time being, just so we have it there, because... Wait, let's see here. How does, as a bonus action, so yes, we could technically do this every round of combat, and in theory, we might have 2 characters caught all the time. So that would be 17.5. So then that would be what? 17.5 times 2. For 35 total damage there. If we don't need it, we'll just check that off later. On top of that, we also have legendary resistances of 3 uses per day, which is very standard. And then the combo of... Oh, no, we don't have the combo. Normally they also have magic resistance, but this one doesn't have it. Okay. After that, we do have magic weapons, but there's no effect to that, so we'll move on to Siege Monster, and that just deals double damage to structures. So Siege Monsters as well has no effect on the CR. So with that, we will shift back over to the rest of the tool here and take a look at the action sections for our Zaratan. Okay, so we have a multi-attack of 2 attacks, one with its bite and one with its stomp. And let's see here, what does it have to hit with? It has a 17 to hit, so we'll go ahead and throw that into the attack bonus section. And then we will start working out the bite, stomp, and all that other stuff. So the bite will be 4d8, so we'll go ahead and add that in for the first attack here. And that will be using, what is it, 10? So that's obviously strength, for a total of 28 even damage. The next attack will be stomp, which is 3d10, also using strength, for 26.5 damage. And then what else do we have? Let's see here. Spit Rock, excuse me, I got a little distracted. We have Spit Rock, which is 68. And let's see here. Is that, yep, that looks like it's using strength as well. For, no, it's not using strength. What is that using? Dexterity? It's got plus 10 to hit, but it's giving me 31 damage. Did I do something wrong? 17 to hit. Spit Rock. Okay, so we're looking at this one here. 68 plus strength. Alright, so right off the bat, maybe my tool is, maybe there's an error in my tool. Let me just pull up my calculator here just to make sure. So let's see here. 4.5 times 6 is 27. Okay. Oh, right. That one was already had the strength in. And then if we add in the strength, that becomes 37, but Spit Rock's average is saying 31. Someone made a boo-boo on this character sheet here. The average should be 37 damage and not 31. That's curious. Okay, well, we will leave that as it is and move on to Spew Debris. The Zaratan exhales rocky debris in a 90-foot cube. Each creature in the area makes a dex save, taking 33 bludgeoning damage on a failed save, half as much on a successful, and then creatures get knocked prone. Alright, so if we want to use the tool for this as well, we could just say 12d10 because we're doubling it for 2 failed saves. And we are not adding in any modifiers to this because this is a special type of damage that is CR related, so we don't have to worry about that. And yeah, we have our 4 attacks here, which is fantastic. So we can go ahead and add those into the workspace section. Oops, I hate it when I do that. Come on, knock that off. Okay. And then our multi-attack will be 1 bite and 1 stomp, which is the first and second attacks. So we have this plus that for a total of 54.5 damage on the multi-attack. All right, now let's take a look at our legendary actions, which we have a lot of, surprisingly enough. Okay, so first off, we have Stomp. The Zaratan makes 1 stomp attack. All right. If we don't do anything else, we can do 3 stomps. So we'll just take the stomp of 26.5 and multiply that 3 times, giving us 79.5 for the stomp. Otherwise, the next one could be that the Zaratan moves up to its speed for 1. And generally speaking, I would use something like the Orc's aggressive feature. But because aggressive only gives so little DPR, based off of what it does, I don't really worry about it. So for instances like this with the Zeratan's move ability, I would just say there's no real effect for that. Moving on, we also have Spit. So the Zeratan uses the Spit Rock ability, which is attack number 3. And then since we have 1 action point left over, I would then use the, not the Bite, but the Stomp attack again for a total of 63.5 there. After that, we have Retract. The Zeratan retracts into its shell. Until it takes the Emerge action, it has resistances to all damage, and it is restrained. The next time it takes a legendary action, it must take its Revitalize or Emerge action. Alright, so... It has resistances to all damage. So that also includes spells. We could, in theory, say this would be +2 AC for Retract, but it's not all the time. It's only when Revitalize or when Retract is in use. So for the time being, I'm going to say that Retract has no immediate effect. There might be some effects later on, but nothing to really worry about right now. Revitalize, on the other hand, that could be worthwhile. The Zeratan can use its option only if it's retracted in its shell, regains 52 hit points. The next time it takes a legendary action, it must take its Emerge action. So, not the greatest, because it does take a lot to get this in order. You would have to sacrifice a lot of DPR in order to heal that 52 points of damage, but if you absolutely needed to, then you would end up in the realm of, you know, +2 AC, or more. I would say maybe even +4 AC, because it's doing all damage types. So melee, physical, and spell related. So physical and spell related damage, I would probably go with a +4 AC on Retract if you use that. So when I do the shorts for this, I will probably do like a note of what its CR might be when it retracts in, but it's only going to be in there for a round or two. And then Emerge, the last one is Emerge here. Zeratan emerges from its shell and uses its Spit Rock. It can use this option only if it retracted in its shell. So then it would Spit Rocks and have the ability to do something else. So there's a lot of slow build-up for these, and I really wouldn't worry about anything else besides, more or less, Legendary Action 1 or 3 for Spit and Stomp. So let's move into calculating the rounds of damage here, since we have that, and see what we get for the Zeratan from this. And we have, let's see here, round 1 would be the Spit Rock. And then we would want to see about possibly recharging that for the next round. But because it has a recharge of 5 or 6, I would use this round 1 and then move into the, not multiply, but add in the legendary actions of 79 for a bunch of stomp attacks. And then rounds 2 and 3, I would do the multi-attack plus the legendary action 1, and then just copy that for round 2. So this is going to give us the most amount of damage possible for the Zeratan, in theory. So let's see here. Our Zeratan is supposed to be a CR 22, and using the absolute most amount of damage possible, we're looking at a CR 23. But I want to see about this earth-shaking movement. Let's take that off from the monster traits here and see what happens. So let's watch the green here and see if this modifies it at all. It does. Okay. So it's not necessarily certain that your players are going to be within structures enough to deal them damage. And if that's the case, then our Zeratan is evenly rated. And I would even suggest that it is indeed an evenly rated monster at this point. I wouldn't say it's overrated or underrated. Not really overrated per se, because we already found a 23 if some of the players or other creatures get stuck in the rubble from the earth-shaking movement here. So my best suggestion, Zeratan, even rated. If for whatever reason, you know, you use it a little bit differently, or there's people or players hiding in buildings, then we might see a CR 23. That's if the Zeratan constantly uses this earth-shaking movement feature and just crashes buildings down. But once a building is crashed, you can't really re-crash it. So in theory, the earth-shaking movement crash on buildings only happens once. Let's see here. Chosen one, what do you have? Can we check the Skitter Horror? I'm looking to run it as a Halloween one-shot. Skitter Horror, sure. Let me see where that one's hiding. Yes, GGR, Guildmaster's Guide. Perfect. All right, so Zaratan, I would say, is evenly rated. If for whatever reason a bunch of players are stuck in the earth-shattering movement, then we would see a CR23 possibly. If that happens every round of combat, and then definitely we'll have some different CRs if the Zaratan shrinks into its shell for a couple rounds, which could change the CR drastically one way or the other. But I'll find that out when we look at the shorts. The shorts. So Zaratan, as far as I'm concerned, even rated. All right, let's take a look at this Skitter Horror after I take some notes. 21, 23. For the Zaratan. Cool. 21, 23, 22, and let's see here, even. I gotta delete that column real quick. Earth shaking times 3 rounds bumps to CR23. Good enough. All right, and let me add that to my list here of monsters that need to be added in. And that was, let me see here. Mordenkind's Tome of Foes, 201. Cool. Now we're doing the Skitter Horror. Skittering Horror. GGR, 205, and I don't know what it's going to be right yet. All right, let's pull up GGR. Oh, I just got some lotion in my eye. Oh, that does not help. All right, so 206. Oh, yes, look at that. Lovely aberration. Nice. Okay. Let's zoom in on the Skittering Horror and get ready. All right. Reset the tool. Skittering Horror from Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica on page 205. Let's see here. It should be a huge aberration with 17 AC and 24 D12 hit dice with, let's see here, 22 strength, 16 dex, 17 constitution, 2 intelligence, another very lacking intelligent creature, 14 wisdom though, and 18 charisma. And then we have, that's everything for the base values for our Skittering Horror here. And we'll move into the skills section and see that we only have damage vulnerabilities to Radiant and nothing else. That's really surprising. Wow, all right. So any, let's see here, Paladins, Clerics, and possibly other divine classes or subclasses could do well against this monster. Chosen One says probably going to add some legendary actions. Yeah, if you want to, definitely do that. But make sure you're using the tool when you add in those legendary actions, so you get a proper CR after we figure out what this is. And we should note that this should be a CR 15, so we'll add that in here. And let's move on to the monster traits now that the skills area is done. And we have Spider Climb, which has no effect on the monster, and we also have Sunlight Sensitivity, which also has no effect. So the monster trait section is done, surprisingly enough, and we can move into the actions area. So then, what do we have for actions? First off, let's take a look at its 2 hit, so I don't forget to add that in. And the 2 hit bonus, or the attack bonus, is 11. And we have a multi-attack. The horror can use its maddening presence and make 3 attacks, 1 with its bite and 2 with its claws. Now, Maddening Presence is probably something to do with fear, right? Nope, paralyzed. All right, we'll take a look at that in a minute. And let me see here. My laptop just upped something. Clawpaw says, no stress, but could you please look at the Snake Parasite or the Iron Maiden, please? Excuse me, please. Thanks. Of course. We can take a look at those next. Let me finish this up and we'll jump on one of those or both. We'll see what happens. All right, so the first attack is a bite. And the bite is what we got here, 4d10. And it's using, what, +6? So that's coming from its strength for a total of 28 damage. And then the claws are dealing another 4d8 +6. So that would be 4 and d8. Strength as well for 24 total damage. So those are our two main attacks there. And then we also have Maddening Presence. The horror takes one creature it can see within... targets one creature within 30 feet. If the target can see the horror, they make a whiz save. On a failed save, the target becomes paralyzed until the end of its next turn. If a creature's saving throw is successful, the creature is immune to the horror's Maddening Presence, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so attack number 1 is going to be 28 points of damage. Attack number 2 is 24. And then because this is paralyzing, this would be similar to the Hold Person spell. And Hold Person is a, what, level 2 spell? Let's see. Yes, that's a level 2 spell, and that will be worth 12 effective DPR. So we'll add that in for attack number 3. So the multi-attack is, let's see here, the horror uses its Maddening Presence and then makes 3 attacks. So we will do the 12 plus a bite and 2 claws. And that's all of it, right? Okay, perfect. All right, so we're looking at a total of potentially total of 88 points of damage with the effective damage from the Maddening Presence. And that will be everything it does for every round of combat. So we'll just take the 88, multiply it by 3, and gives us a CR 13 so far. So it looks like we have an overrated monster, surprisingly enough. Unless Maddening Presence is being upped, like the value for Maddening Presence is stronger than that. And it's possible. With the DC 17, let's take a look here at the chart and see what we have. No, the DC 17 is pretty much right in line because we have an 18 right here, and that's only 1 under the expected. So there really isn't anything going on there. It looks like the Skittering Horror is overrated by 2, surprisingly enough. Yeah, I mean, we only have damage vulnerabilities, which if we take that into consideration, that would drop the CR down even further to a 10, but we only have the 1 vulnerability. So we can't really count that in. So it looks like we have ourselves an overrated monster. I'm not going to worry about trying to figure out how to modify or fix this. I will look at this more when I have time. I mean, if you join me somehow on Fridays when I go through my monsters, Thursdays and Fridays, I'd be curious. But I will look at how to fix this possibly and bring it up to the CR 15 that it's printed. So Chosen One and Clawpaw, yeah, looks like you both have a slightly less challenge rating monster. Hopefully that doesn't affect how you wanted to use the Skittering Horror. If anything, maybe throw in another bite. Let's look at that real quick and add in 1 more bite and see how that works out. There you go. Quick fix. There we go. Quick fix. 2 bites, 2 claws, and the Maddening Presence. Perfect. There you go. Now you have a CR 15. I didn't think I was going to be able to find it that easily. All right. Let me clear this out. First, let me take my notes, and let's see here. So we have 11, 15. Oh, and if you're curious about how to use it, because it's higher, its range is higher with the OCR, I would say this is an accurate striker. So it's going to be able to easily hit your players. Yes, Clawpaw. Definitely. That was a very quick fix, surprisingly enough. Yeah, yeah, Chosen One, the maddening presence could possibly help out as well. So if we say, let's take this, multiply it by 2. That is close. Being able to target 2 people with the maddening presence could help. It only brings it up to a 14 technically, but it's something for sure. All right, so we have 11, 15, and 13. Let me take a note of that. And Skittering Horror. 11, 15, 13. This is overrated. Quick fix. +1 bite. All right, perfect. And then Skittering Horror was supposed to be 15. And let's see here. What do we also have? Snake Parasite. And the Iron Maiden. Alright, let me see where these are hiding. Snake Parasite. Is that a homebrew? Because I'm not seeing it in official sources. And the same with the Iron Maiden. Are those both maybe from Tome of Beasts or somewhere else? Yeah, those two are hard to find and homebrewed. Okay, so let's see here. What does a search come up with? Snake Parasite 5e. .5e class, wow. If you have the stat blocks, Clawpaw, that would definitely be helpful. You can email them to me for sure. I've got this one here. If this is possibly it from, looks like it's from Bloodborne. Oh no, that's not right. This is for Bloodborne Wiki, never mind. Population growth. Do I have Discord? No, I don't. I was debating on setting one up or not. I don't go on all too often, but I could set one up possibly. I don't know. I haven't figured out if I want to do that yet or not. Okay, give me a second to hack into system. Clawpaw. Yeah, sure, man. No problem. I'm going to sip on my cocktail for a minute. Yeah, it's funny you bring that up, population growth. I was just thinking if I should... I was just thinking about that earlier today, if I should set one up or not. I do have a few that I go on to and chat with people on. I just haven't set one up for my own use. Maybe I'll throw that out as a community poll this week and see if anyone's interested in a Discord server or not. What else do we have here? Let's see if I can find the stat blocks here, because there are quite a few. Looks like someone made this one here. I wonder if that's the case. Iron Maiden 5e. Let's see if anything comes up for that one too. Equipment, spells. Well, thank you, population growth. That'd be super helpful. I will keep that in mind. How to put Iron Maiden, Resident Evil 4 in D&D 5e. Curious. This is the one here, the Snake Parasite Clawpaw. All right. Let me pull this one over here then. Okay. Let's see here. Let me pull up my email then. and I will be right back. Let's see here. Gmail. Let's open you up. And switch accounts. Oh yeah, sure enough. That's the image. Okay. And then let's see here. The Iron Maiden. Oh, nice, nice, nice. Okay, yeah, I remember that monster. Okay. Let me see here. Oh dear, I just clicked on. Don't open that up. Okay. All right, that's set up. Let me get rid of all those. Get back to over here. All right, let's see. Switch back to live. Drop that down. Okay, so we have this snake parasite from Bloodborne. That's a game I have not played and I want to, unfortunately. Come on, zoom in. There we go. All right. Snake parasite, looks like Bloodborne conversion to 5e, which is pretty cool. And let's see here. Medium monstrosity with 15 AC. And let's see here. 10d8 hit dice with, what do we have for stats? 16 strength, 14 dex, 17 constitution, 5 intelligence, 12 wisdom, and 5 charisma. All right, so the hit points are lining up. Perfect. We also have in the skills area, we have damage resistances to poison, and that's it. But it should be a CR3, so we don't have to worry about the damage resistances since there's only one condition, and we'll move down into the other two items for monster traits. Let's see here, Clawpaw. Me either, but I wanted to use them in a horror one-shot and maybe my main campaign. So yeah. Don't blame you there. Let's see what we have though. So first monster trait we have is Parasite. While the snakes remain within the head of the host, it is indistinguishable from a woodland huntsman except that it wears a linen sack over its head. As soon as the snake parasite rolls for initiative, its parasites break out of its head. Alright, no effect there, simple enough. And then we move on to host. The host of the snake parasite is a corpse controlled by the snake like a puppet. The snake parasite has advantage on saving throws against being stunned, paralyzed, and being poisoned. Interesting. Why not just say immune? Usually we would do something like that with condition immunities. Alright, so both of the monster traits have no effect. Host and parasite. They're not important enough to really worry about modifying the CR. So hopefully we'll see a big increase from the action section here. And moving into the actions, we have a multi-attack. The snake parasite makes 2 bite attacks. It can replace one of these attacks to attempt to grapple a target. Strange. Okay. So we will probably just go with the bites. And the bite is +5 to hit. So we'll switch that up. And then we have what? Let's see here. 7 points of damage, which is correct. 7.5 piercing damage plus 7 poison damage. This attack is made with advantage against a creature grappled by the snake parasite. Okay. Let's see here. So if we do a straight roll of this, it would be what? Let's see here. So it was 7.5 plus an additional 7 for 14.5. And if we do 2 of those, come on, there we go, times 2, we're looking at 29 points of damage for the bites. And then simply adding in the round 1, we can multiply that times 3 because that's pretty much all we're really worried about for maximum damage. 87 points of damage, and our monster is a CR3. If you use the grapple feature from any of its attacks to try and get advantage, you're going to see a drop in damage. I guarantee it. And let's see here. Oh, how did that, man, sensitive. Let's say, for instance, we say 2 rounds And then one of these will be just 1 bite for round 2. So rounds 1 is technically rounds 1 and 2, and then round 3 is round 2. And we're looking at a CR3 as well, but not nearly as much damage, which is surprising. But we would get advantage from the attack, and I would say probably 2 attacks. What would we add into that? Maybe pack tactics. Let's see if that changes anything around a little bit. Okay. So both luckily do work, and this is an even rated monster for the snake parasite. So if for whatever reason you want to try and grapple, you can. And I would say the grapple... Oh yeah, that's right. Also, it would give a +1 effective AC bonus from constricting. So let's see what happens here. Not much changes. So that's lucky as well. So yeah. Luckily enough is you only try to grapple 1 target and you don't try to grapple multiple times in a row. You grapple 1 target and then you constantly bite and attack that target. We're looking at pretty much an even rated CR3 monster. It's an accurate striker because the OCR is much higher than its defenses. But yeah, I would definitely use the snake parasite. Whoever created this did a very good job of balancing out their monster. Alright, cool. Let's see here. Let me take a note of that. Should be a 3. And this was the blood. I'm going to butcher the spelling of it, but whatever. Bloodborne conversion. Cool. Oh, it's hard. Excuse me a minute. Cocktail is not helping. All right, let's see here. What else we got going on? We have the Iron Maiden. So let's see here. We'll clear out the tool, and then we'll switch over to the Iron Maiden here, which is what, from Resident Evil 4, right? That we said? Which is cool. All right. Can I zoom in at all? That would be super helpful. I can. Perfect. All right, excellent. Iron Maiden, a Resident Evil 4 conversion, which is a medium undead, has 14 AC, 12 D8 hit dice, and it has, for bonuses, 16 strength, 9 dex, 18 constitution, 5 intelligence, 9 wisdom, and 6 charisma. This gives us all the basic information out of the way, and we can move into the skills area. We have 2 saves, which has no effect, and 1 damage immunity to poison. Again, also no effect to the monster. But we also have a CR5. So we have our skills and our base information out of the way. We can then move up to... 1 second. My laptop wanted to restart for some reason. And now we can move into the monster traits here. And with the monster traits... we have Spiny Body, a creature that touches the Iron Maiden or hits it with a melee attack, while within 5 feet of it takes 9 piercing damage. Now, this was something I had to learn about the Spiny Body. If you're within 5 feet, you're going to take the damage. If you attack, you're also going to take the damage. So technically, you're getting double damage here, and this is something I missed a couple times when dealing with this, especially with... the heated body from the Azure and some other monsters. So technically, this is doing double damage here, and this is actually doing 18 points of damage because we're expecting 2 targets at all times. So, if anything, we're going to put in 18 points of damage here for this monster, and we'll move on to after that. We'll move on to undead parasites. The Iron Maiden has 4 necromantic parasites embedded in its body, which pulse with a red glow at the start of its turn, causing the Iron Maiden to regain 5 hit points per parasite. Each parasite has an AC of 16, 5 hit points, immune to some stuff, has total cover for any attack, spell, or effect which does not require an attack roll against the parasite's AC. If all 4 parasites are reduced to 0 hit points, this trait has no longer functions. So... we can say that the Iron Maiden has a regeneration of 20 per round, giving 60 effective hit points. not really effective, actual hit points over the 3 rounds of combat. So that's a hefty regeneration. Whew. And yeah, players will want to target that immediately. So now that our monster traits are done and out of the way, let's move into the attack actions here. And we have a multi-attack. The Iron Maiden makes 2 attacks with its slam, and it also has a Stinger Grasp. Well, first of all, let's put in the attack bonus of +6, which is coming from the Proficiency Bonus and its Strength. And then let's take a look at these attacks that it has. So the first is slamming for 1d10 + 3. So we'll add in the d10 and add in its Strength bonus. And then also it's dealing an additional 9 points of piercing damage. So we will do 2d8. And that will be attack number 1. For a total of, let's see here, 17.5 points of damage. Clawpaw says, I mean, they are called regenerados for no reason. Didn't know they were called that, but makes sense for how quickly they're regenerating then. Yikes. Why did that happen? Because my hand hit the button there. Okay, so we have 17.5 points of damage for the slam attack, and then we also have Stinger Grasp. Let's see here. Ranged weapon attack, +6 to hit, which I guess it's throwing it, which is fine with strength. And let's see here. What? 30 damage? What? Okay. So let's see here. What is going on with this? Stinger Grasp. Okay. So 68. And we're using strength. So yes, we got 30 damage here. On top of that, we have a grapple. While grappled this way, a creature is restrained. It takes 9 damage at the start of the Iron Maiden's turn. The Iron Maiden has 2 arms and can grapple up to 2 creatures at once. Okay. This is... oof. Yeah. Alright, so... let's see here. More than likely, for the Stinger Grasp, we are going to hit. And we're going to add in that amount of damage, the 30, plus, luckily, we can add in the extra 9 points of damage there for the piercing damage, and we're getting 39 points of damage. Let's see how much the multi-attack is. It's going to be pretty much the same, it looks like. That's going to be what? 17, and 17 is... no, it's going to be close. It's going to be like a couple points off. Yeah. All right, so the multi-attack is only 35. Meanwhile, the Stinger Grasp is 39. So you're better off using the Stinger Grasp every round of combat, grabbing monsters and then grappling them. So we can actually add in +2 AC bonus for grappling as well, because we're expecting those. And to get +2 right away, I'm just going to use the flies and deals range damage for the +2 effective AC from that, because I'm going to use the Stinger Grasp every round of combat, because it does so much more damage. It also grapples and is dealing extra damage on top of that. So we're looking at 117 points of damage for the 3 rounds of combat, which equals back out to 39. And we are seeing a CR8 monster. This is 3 levels above the printed value, and I'm sure there's a possibility of how this is not coming into place. If we were to take the spiny body at only 9 instead of 18, I'm sure that is one thing here. So let's move that up. Yes, sure enough, that drops down to that. And then let's say this is using... the rounds of combat are actually using the multi-attack instead. We're getting a CR7. So let's go back to where we were at. And this is an underrated monster. Clawpaw, if you want to use this I would use as a CR8 monster. to fix this, I'm not really sure what to do here. Maybe 1 attack? Yikes. Let's see here. Or not using the, really dropping down the damage on the Stinger Grasp, maybe. I don't know. This one's a tricky one, but man, that's a lot of damage. Yikes. Okay, I'm just going to take a note there that this was supposed to be a 5. Yeah, you're welcome, Clawpaw, for sure. Something like this could probably TPK a party for sure. Let me pull up the book real quick. How are you planning on using this? Was that supposed to be a just a monster in a group, or was the Iron Maiden going to be kind of like a solo epic encounter? Let's see, a Clawpaw. You know what? I'm going to give it a 3rd multi-attack. Oh, no. Oh, no. All right, so let's see what happens then. Let's switch this up really quick and move this back to the multi-attack here. And let's see what happens if you use that at 3 multi-attack. So the multi-attack is 2, and we're going to say 3 slam attacks. You're looking at CR9, Clawpaw. Oh, man. That is a lot. 5 players, level 7, solo, maybe small group encounter. All right, cool. Let's take a look at Xanathar's guide and see how we could use this then, based off of what your players are right away, as we finish off the live stream here. Encounter building. I love using Xanathar's guide. It makes things so much easier. And you want to use it as a solo epic encounter. So your players are level 7, and you have 5 of them. So in theory, they should be able to handle one monster up to CR10. So maybe interrupt a fight with smaller enemies. You could do that. You could for sure, if you want to do that. And if you use the multi-attack of 3, like you were saying, and you bump up the monster to a CR9, you're getting close to what your players should be able to handle, because you have 5 of them and 5 characters. So you would want this to be at least a CR10. And if they have a whole bunch of magical gear, then you're probably going to want them to be even higher. Your monster maybe even higher to like a CR12 possibly. Depends on how much magical gear they have and how overpowered they've become. Let me think here. If we look at this for multiple monsters then. Your character's level 7, and let's see here. CR9, not really showing much of anything. I would say, what would I say? Put in maybe some CR1 halves and, a couple CR1 halves and 1s if you wanted to interrupt the fight and do it that way. I wouldn't go too crazy overboard, but they should be able to handle this monster no problem. Let's see here. Yeah, they won't a lot. I plan on using this bad lady as a middle boss for my 1-shot. Cool. All right, cool. Yeah, that should be fun. I guess they won't have a lot of magical gear then. All right. Yeah, this shouldn't be too terribly difficult then as a solo encounter. Because 4 players could handle a CR9, and if you use the 3 multi-attack. Yeah, just some zombies and angry controlled villagers. Yeah, that sounds perfect then. Get some like what do they call those? Minions. Some like 1 hit point minions in there or something, just to really distract the players a bit from the main boss. Okay, so that has been a couple homebrews. One that was evenly rated and one that was very overrated, to say the least. What was it? CR8 we found? Yeah, CR8. Wow. Okay. Definitely a striker style monster for sure too. And let me switch over to the ending soon feed here. So what did you say here, Clawpaw? Yeah, I'll see if I'm raging with the triple attack. True. It really depends on what happens there for with the dice rolls and everything that's going on. Should be an interesting encounter for sure. But yeah, so this has been another live stream with me, Andrew, exposing D&D 5e monster CRs. And this is me hoping or asking the question, are your encounters even rated? And now that it's 11 o'clock, I will say good night, everyone. I'll see you next time. And thanks for joining me as I unveiled version 2 of the tool. Let me know what you think. Throw it in the comments or something. I am very active on YouTube, as you see. Good night, everyone. Indeed, Clawpaw. See you next time, and enjoy the morning.